Portion of our candidate forum, and we're going to go ahead. You good? Awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started again with introductions. Rich, would you like to go ahead and lead us off?
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. We appreciate you being here, taking time out of your evening. My name is Rich Bird, and I'm running for Pacific County Sheriff. I'm a lifelong resident of Pacific County, born and raised here. Mom and dad are Bob and Doris Bird. I'm sure everybody knows Doris, the cookie lady. That's my mom. My brother James is here. My other brother passed away. Met my wife in 1989 and married her. We've been in Pacific County ever since. We've had two wonderful children, one who is now a police officer in the city of Raymond. I skipped over a little stint I did in the Army. When I got out of high school, I went in the Army for 4 years, did 2 years overseas in South Korea. I'm a 20-year retired veteran from Pacific County Sheriff's Office, retired as a patrol lieutenant. I was a patrol sergeant for a number of years, and resigned from that to become a member of the Drug Task Force, and did a couple of 3 years on the Drug Task Force. Pacific County Narcotics Enforcement Team is what it was called then. After that stint, I was appointed or re-promoted to sergeant again, and subsequently went to lieutenant, which was also a promotion, and retired as a patrol lieutenant. It's an unusual situation where I bring with me a team that I've already announced that is going to be a part of my team. We have 4 individuals with the team that have over 95 years of law enforcement experience. My undersheriff is Heath Lehman. He's a retired police chief from Cosmopolis with 32 years of law enforcement. And then we have a couple other folks, Daryl Tevis and Darren Udd, which Darren has 25 years law enforcement experience and Daryl has 18 years law enforcement experience. And they bring with them a multitude of attributes that will assist us in moving forward into 2027. It was not I took a long time to decide that I was going to run for sheriff because when I retired, I basically stepped away. And I see now that there's a need. You know, the Pacific County needs an experienced team to come in and lead us into the future. There's a great group of guys that are deputy sheriffs here, and they need help. They need help. They need to be helped along the way. They need good, competent people, good, competent leaders that can lead them into the future. Thank you.
Daniel Garcia.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Daniel Garcia. I'm your current Pacific County Sheriff. First and foremost, thank you all for being here. God bless Pacific County, God bless America, and I am grateful to be in this position for you all. So I come to you after 22 years retired as a Navy senior chief. I've been on 9 deployments in those 22 years. That's not the most, but it's certainly not the least. And with that, I've been a leader for a very long time. Now with the 3.5 years as the sheriff, that's a lot of experience. In regard to the team that I have, it's a little over 70 years combined. Not quite 90 some, but that's only because I have 10 minutes. So that lowers the number just a little bit. So with that, I have 4 sons and I'm the husband to a beautiful wife. And I am blessed to be in this position as my wife's husband and my son's father. I am blessed to be in this position to live amongst you all. My wife and I have chosen this to be our home. My wife is a retired coastie, and we came to this area in 2013 and established this place as our home in Nassau. So I've raised my sons here, and it is my home too. That said, I'm grateful to continue to serve as your sheriff, and I'm grateful for your vote. And I will continue to be transparent, competent, and continue to lead us into the future. And if you guys had any questions, you can always find me and seek me out at any event. Ask me for yourself, look into my eyes, shake my hand, and tell me what you think. Along this entire path, we have taken that input, and it's kind of been the secret to our success in being able to adjust resources as there's not enough to then address the needs of the community. And that is the only way that we are able to make do with what we have in Pacific County. So with that model, we've been able to mold and shape what we do and how we're doing it to be able to attempt to meet the mark. Unfortunately, it's still not enough. So with that, we have plans to continue to establish the base of this office and grow into the future. I'll probably get into more details of all of those things as we go along to this, and I'll certainly recap at the end. But I am grateful to be here in this seat for you all and serve you all. So God bless you guys.
David Podesta? I don't think so.
All right, so I'm the new guy. I'm the guy who showed up 5 minutes ago. But what I do show up with, and I'll talk about it a little bit, is 30 years of experience in the LAPD. I started off, I went to college, I got 2 degrees. I figured I had a liberal education. I needed to be better rounded, so I went into the Marine Corps program. I became an officer. I was an infantry platoon commander. I went to Desert Storm. I served my 4 years active duty, and then I stayed an extra 2 years in the reserves, and I came out as a captain. And that really helped me with my leadership side, obviously. Then I went into the LAPD, and I climbed the ranks pretty quickly. I was most notably a watch commander for 5 different divisions. Divisions are considered stations. There's 21 stations in LA. So on any one day as a watch commander, you're in charge of everybody who's out there, and it can be anywhere from 20 people to 40 or 50 people. And you're focusing on everything that comes in, every arrest, every problem. I've been through OISs, which is officer-involved shootings. I've been to, I think my first year I went to 57 shootings. I've dealt with drug problems. I've dealt with prostitution. I mean, there's nothing, including an airplane crash, believe it or not. There's nothing that I haven't experienced and dealt with. And what I'm trying to do, and the reason I'm here, is because my father lived in Oysterville for 35 years. He passed a couple years ago and left me his property. So when I retired, I moved up here. And I looked at the state of the department, and I said to myself, you have this huge bag of knowledge. You have all this stuff that you can impart. And would Pacific County like to have somebody new come in and bring some of this knowledge and bring some of this expertise and bring some of the people maybe that that have knowledge in the areas that you need help in. And I don't subscribe to the issue of not enough personnel. We had a saying in the LAPD, which is do more with less. All right, you have what you have. We're all under a budget crunch. I've talked to the county commissioners individually for quite a bit of time. I'm not going to go to the county commissioners and say, I need money for this, I need money for that. What we have is what we have, and we're going to make the best of it. And we're going to retrain some issues. There's some issues in the department that need to be addressed. And if you look at 50% of the sheriffs in this country and 50% of the police chiefs that are brought in or that are promoted to chief are from outside. And the reason they're from outside is they bring in a different kind of expertise, they bring in new ideas, and I'm a big, then that's it.
Sean Eastham.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out. My name is Sean Eastham. I'll give a couple minutes here to go over my personal and professional background, also as to why I'm running for sheriff. But I will say it is an absolute honor just to be able to run for this position of Pacific County Sheriff. I'm a longtime Nacelle, Pacific County resident, born and raised there. Married, my wife Jamie, she's a registered nurse. We have 3 wonderful children. 2 of them are adults in college. My youngest daughter is a sophomore in high school. Deep roots in Nacelle, born and raised here, like I said, and it wouldn't want to live anywhere else in this country. I have going on 31 years of law enforcement experience. Started here 19 years old in South Bend as a reserve officer right out of high school. Got started in my full-time job with the city of Camas. Worked there from until 2006 when I came back home to Pacific County, and have been a deputy here at the sheriff's office ever since. A little bit about my education. Right after high school, got my criminal justice degree at Grays Harbor College. In recent years, got a bachelor's degree in business management. And then very recent, in the last 3 years, got a master's degree in education. And other experience that I have, emergency services has been my life. I got involved in the fire service, actually, a few years back, and I'm a certified EMT, as well as a firefighter, internationally certified. Been helping out locally in Pacific County and in Nacelle. Last few years, when I have time to do that. I also have a passion for kids. Been a substitute teacher for a little over 8 years now in Nacelle and South Bend. So much so that I got a master's in education. The kids are our future, and they mean a lot to me, and I actually have a plan for kids in Pacific County that involves the sheriff's office. Why I'm running for sheriff? This isn't my first rodeo. I ran in 2018 for sheriff. Didn't quite make it past the primaries. I'm hoping to do that this time around, so August 4th is a big day for me. I have served at the sheriff's office under 4 administrations. I've seen what does not work. I have seen what does work, and I have some very ambitious ideas of my own. Again, I'll use what works, do away with what doesn't. My vision is ambitious. I will say it is very realistic and achievable. Right off the bat.
Time.
Thank you.
All right, reset the clock to 1 minute and 30 seconds. We have quite a few colorful questions, so this is going to be exciting to say the least. Rich Berg, first question is for you. You are running on bringing back the Drug Task Force. What is your step-by-step plan to complete this task? Plus, is there funding for this?
Absolutely. Day one, we are reestablishing the Drug Task Force. Like I said before, Pacific County Narcotics Enforcement Team I was responsible for starting that. I was the only person on that task force when we started. We ended up with 3, but day one, we're going to bring the Drug Task Force back. I think it was a huge mistake. You heard from Ron Black that drugs are still a problem in Pacific County, and there is still funding in the Drug Task Force Fund. I checked with the county. There's $126,000 sitting in the fund right now. The legislative funding went through the end of 2026, so it's something that's going to have to be addressed. But I already have buy-in from all 4 police chiefs, and Shoalwater Bay has already committed an officer to the task force. So With Pacific County, that's 2, we just need 1 more. And I haven't approached the chiefs about, what their contribution is, but they're definitely willing to step forward and help Pacific County eradicate drugs, help get people treatment, help them get the help that they need to get rid of the drug problem in this county. All the crime, or a majority of the crime, especially property crime, has a direct nexus to drugs. And if you just sit back and don't do anything about the drugs, you're just gonna chase your tails, chasing property crime all day long. I remember when I was a deputy, we used to go to 40, 50 burglaries at a time in Ocean Park because most of the time it was tied to people that had an addiction problem. And you can't arrest your way out of it. We have to have numerous things in place. You say time?
Time.
Thank you.
Sheriff Garcia, do you plan to try to take the jail back? If so, what is your plan for Director Byrd and the appointment positions?
Say the question one more time?
Do you plan to try to take the jail back? If so, what is your plan for Director Byrd and the appointment positions?
So I would love to have the jail back, and I have no plans for Director Byrd. So I have an individual that would be willing to take that appointment and continue our march to address all the issues that exist within it. So when the jail was taken, it was taken with no plan. And the plans that we already had in place, the things that we were in communication with the commissioners, have been marching forward. And for that, I commend Director Byrd. So I'm glad that it's continued to go forward. That said, we've had to step in numerous times to help address the shortfalls of the jail since it's been taken. So I still intend to take the jail should it be given back to me. That said, I don't get to say if it's given back to me or not. So that's on the commissioners. There's 3 of them in attendance today. Maybe go talk to them.
David Podesta, do you think an officer should complete officer training before they do their job?
Before what?
Before they do their job.
Officer training. I had the only job in the world that is there reverb?
Yeah.
I say we have the only job in the world that everybody knows how to do better than us. Right? You go to a traffic stop, you didn't do this right. You didn't read my rights. You arrest them, you put the handcuffs on wrong. You didn't read him his rights. You did this wrong. You did that wrong. There's a lot that goes into training officer. I was a training officer for about 8 years, and I took. In the LAPD, you have 7 months of academy, and then you have a full year with what's called an FTO, field training officer. And if you look at the number of calls that we do, in my career, I've done over 20,000 calls. And when I say I've seen it, pretty much seen it all. It's extremely important to not only have the mechanics down of policing, simple stuff, like you all know, handcuffing seems like a simple thing. When somebody's combative, it is not a simple thing to put on. You have to have the right technique, but also you have to have the right philosophy. And there's a philosophy of policing that when you go to somebody's door, a lot of times people are apprehensive, they call 911, they're scared, whatever. If you approach it like you're doing them a favor, you're wrong.
Time. So there are quite a few questions specifically directed towards 1 or 2 candidates. So I'm going to go through a couple more, and then we're going to do general questions and give everyone an opportunity to answer. Sean Eastham, you were on duty in Nacelle when a call came in for Ocean Park men fighting. By the time you got to the call, a young man passed away. What is your plan to address this problem?
Well, I can't speak about that call. It would be irresponsible to talk about calls that are in the current court process. That's how mistrials happen. So I can't talk about that call at all. But I can talk about response times to calls, and that is a area that I have a solution for, and that involves basically just using the deputies we have with a new patrol schedule, a fantastic patrol schedule that is going to divide our team into 2 squads that rotate. And the amount of deputies we're going to have on the road is going to improve response times to, Pacific County's never seen response times that are going to be that fast. And 24-hour police coverage, covering all areas of the county. There's 18 of us from the sheriff down, so divide that in half, that's a squad of 9. When one squad's working, the other one's on days off. It also allows for an overlap every 2 weeks for training. But I can't wait to use this schedule. I've worked it in Camas. I know it works, and it's going to solve 90% of the operational problems that we have with no deputies being out, long response times coming from all areas of the county, and I just can't wait to get that going. And it will work. I know it. It could be working right now. Even missing a couple guys, it still worked. 24-hour coverage, more coverage in the North County. How would you like to have a North County deputy out till 4 a.m.? That's going to happen, all right? I got the schedule. It's in my car right now.
Time.
Thank you.
All right, so we're gonna do some general questions and we're gonna jump around. The next set of questions, each of you will be able to respond 30 to 45 seconds. We're gonna start with Daniel Garcia, and then the next round we'll start with David Podesta, and we'll switch it over like that. Daniel Garcia, what is your philosophy regarding the intersection of behavioral health and criminal justice?
What is my philosophy on the intersection of behavioral health and law enforcement? Is that the question?
Correct.
So, first off, mental health is a colossal issue throughout the entire United States, and Pacific County is not unique to this. So with that, my philosophy encompasses working with the agencies and groups that we have, of which we have done. We have a very good partnership with the health department in Pacific County, and we've utilized that to address that issue in Pacific County currently. So much so that we were able to convince the greater powers to fund a DCR position within Pacific County. We proved that Pacific County was not served very well, and then got that funded. So that's my philosophy.
David Podesta, same question.
I worked about a year and a half on Skid Row, super familiar with mental health, and there's 2 types of issues. There's the person whose mental health has deteriorated to the point where they don't function and they need help. Then there's the mental health person that self-medicates with alcohol and drugs. That becomes a problem. So now we're talking into the law enforcement. So part of me as a human being wants to help the person that needs help. The people that don't need help or don't want help or use drugs and then break the law to feed their habit, jail first. And jail, it works unbelievably, by the way, as far as drying them out. They come out.
Time. Sean Easton.
Can you repeat the question?
What is your philosophy regarding the intersection of behavioral health and criminal justice?
Okay, behavioral health. Here's what I've seen. And these, if the question were what are the worst main issues in Pacific County, it's going to be mental health, not necessarily in this order, the drug abuse problem, and another area I want to touch on that's really sad and the most difficult that uses up a lot of law enforcement time is the elderly population who are struggling physically, also with dementia. This is a huge problem. Very difficult on the peninsula where there's a massive elderly population. I run into this also working as an EMT on the peninsula. We do what we can in law enforcement. I would like to see more resources for mental health, for the elderly. Making that happen is going to take some thinking.
Time. Richburg?
I think I would agree with Sheriff Garcia. A mental health representative, or I believe you call it the DCR position, is absolutely essential and something that my team would work towards. Also, I think it goes back to training. You have to get the deputies trained in how to talk to these people and how to deal with these people and how to have empathy for these people. These folks are people that are your families, they're people that are your friends, your neighbors, and they just need help. And so we have to have empathy. We have to get our deputies trained in how to deal with that specific scenario. It's not I guess it's not really an enforcement scenario depending on what has occurred, but it's more about getting them the help they need and having somebody trained in how to talk to them and how to deal with them in a respectful manner.
David Podesta, we'll start this next question with you. If the state mandated a gun buyback or door-to-door gun confiscation program, would you enforce the policy?
Well, I don't need 30 seconds for that. That's an absolute no. All right? It's not, it will never, ever happen for a couple of reasons. One, completely against the Constitution. I support the Constitution. I'm not going to have somebody from the politician that probably has bodyguards with weapons to tell other people they can't have weapons. So that's not going to happen. Two, it puts the deputies in a really dangerous position. Can you imagine going to somebody's home and saying, I'm going to forcibly remove your guns? There'd be no deputies. I mean, the streets would be littered with deputies. And I wouldn't do it.
Sean Eastham, same question.
Ditto. You came from California, so you might have tried to do that down there, but Washington's probably no. No, I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. I'd resign my position before I came to that. The state has authority, the federal government has authority. There is a fine line there that needs to be walked at sometimes. You're not going to see me going door to door sending my deputies to collect somebody's guns. Now, if people want to volunteer and turn in their guns, that's up to them. But I think it'll be a sad world we live in when government comes down and says you got to do this. Now, there are reasons you can't have guns, right? You lose those rights when you become a felon. You lose those rights if you have certain mental health disabilities. That's with the court usually. But
Time. Richburg?
Well, I would start by saying the first thing I would do would be to lobby against any legislation that violated our Second Amendment right to bear arms. There's an absolute supporter of the Second Amendment, and some proof in the pudding is that my undersheriff choice is a nationally recognized firearms instructor who owns his own firearms range. So I can tell you that your right to bear arms in Pacific County are probably pretty safe, regardless of who is in office.
Sheriff Garcia?
So the short answer is no. The long answer goes into what we are and why. The United States is a republic, and if anybody's tracking the Supreme Court circuit, these battles are being won currently. And so that to what Mr. Podesta said, that it wouldn't occur because the battles are being won. So that said, the constitutionality of it is unacceptable, and for those reasons, I would be in Olympia talking against it and in favor of your rights, as I've already done and will continue to do as you continue to put me in this seat.
Sean Eastham, there was 3 similar questions, so do you support or oppose ICE?
Well, I would support ICE. That's a branch of the federal government. They have a job, sanctioned by the president to carry out a task. That task is immigration. There's laws in place to become a citizen. When you disregard those laws, you can expect consequences. Now, the sheriff in the sheriff's office is not ICE. We don't work for the federal government, so they're going to do what they do. My biggest thing is making sure that we communicate with ICE should they show up and know who the key players are, who the administrators are, so that there could be communication. The last thing we would want to happen would be an incident that ravels out of control because of lack of policing or whatever.
Time. Rich Bird, do you support or oppose ICE?
I wouldn't call it support or oppose. I can tell you this, that the federal government has an agency that handles immigration, customs, and enforcement. And the state of Washington has specific laws governing what law enforcement in the state of Washington will do regarding those duties. And we're going to make sure that we keep Pacific County safe and we take care of our local area before we worry about a federal entity or a federal job.
Daniel Garcia, same question.
Okay, so ICE is a legitimate federal agency. In the Article 6 of the United States Constitution outlines the supremacy of the Constitution and its authority and the laws of it. So for those means, yes, I will support the operations of ICE should they be legal and lawful. So much so that I traveled to Washington, D.C., and I sat with the heads of the agency, on my own dime, by the way, for the reporters in the room. To speak with them directly about what was going on, I wrote a letter in regard to this, so that stands, you can look it up, that is my stance. It's my responsibility as the sheriff to ensure that our resources are being utilized appropriately, and so for that reason, I will do that, utilize them appropriately for purposes of enforcing the law in Washington State. If ICE shows up, I will work with them to make sure that what they're doing is legal and lawful.
I've worked with ICE, not directly, but our agency has. And here's what you do, right? ICE is like the FBI, Secret Service, whatever. They're going to come in and do whatever they're doing, and that's their part of it. Our part is to make sure that if there's people there that want to interfere illegally, I'm not talking about protest. I'm not talking about right to express yourself. I'm talking about people who want to hurt other people, whether it's on one side or the other, that we're there as a barrier so that everything happens civilly. That's the most important part, is your safety. That's it. The politics of it, don't care.
Again, another question for every candidate. Rich Bird, starting with you. What is your position on flock cameras?
This is something new to me. I wasn't really familiar with flock cameras until recently when they spoke about them, but I think it's a really good resource, really good tool that can be used to bolster law enforcement and keep a community safe. And anybody that doesn't know what they are, is they're license plate readers that will help you to identify and apprehend people that were involved in criminal activity. So I believe I would support flock cameras.
Daniel Garcia, same question.
So for the Pacific County Sheriff's Office, I don't support flock cameras. If a private organization wanted to purchase them, then that's awesome, and that would be a tool to be able to utilize with a search warrant. So that said, flock cameras are kind of big brother-ish, and I'm adamantly opposed to that. There are multiple lawsuits going on throughout the state, and the attempt by these groups, advocacy groups, are trying to make flock cameras go under, and it's putting agencies that jumped on board right away in peril. The PDR system is being utilized as a weapon, and it's already being utilized as a weapon in Pacific County, so I don't want to put that on top of everything that's being done in our county. So flock cameras could be used as a tool, but I'm opposed to it for the sheriff's office.
There's a misunderstanding about those cameras. The cameras are for license plates that had warrants on it, missing people, kidnapped people, and I think there's one other thing. It's not a license plate reader where it records your license plate and places you at that specific time. It is a great tool. We've solved a lot of problems. And if somebody were to come down 101 or whatever, and they have a license plate, it's a stolen car. That was the other one. And it's a stolen car. I want to know about it. If there's a warrant on that car, I want to know about it. It's a great tool. It's not Big Brother. We've been using it in LA for probably 10 years. Great resource, great tool. It doesn't cost a whole lot. It's super effective, and it doesn't take away any of your rights or your privacy.
Time. You good? Yeah?
I don't know much about flock cameras. I haven't researched them. I understand what they're for. I believe the sheriff's office here used to have one. And I believe we picked up a stolen vehicle coming in on Highway 101 just near here quite a few years ago. So it's technology that's been around. I'm assuming it's probably similar to body cameras in the sense that, you know, we're living in the day of technology. So it wouldn't surprise me if more agencies start using those. I'd have to really do more research into it if we're going to be using those again. So just like Mr. Podesta said, I think it is a tool. There are valuable aspects of it: missing children, stolen vehicles, basically trying to weed out people we don't want in our community.
Again, another question for all of the candidates, starting with Daniel Garcia. Do you believe the Pacific County Sheriff's Department needs more deputies? And if so, how can you accomplish that without raising our taxes?
So the short answer is yes, I believe the sheriff's office needs more deputies. The long answer is that it's more nuanced than that. For a long time, we haven't kept pace with the growth of the community, with the business and the visitors that come into the community, and with the growth of crime and the change in the laws. So all of that said, we are utilizing the deputies that we have to the best that we can. The schedule is built around empirical data on where we're needed and when, and the way that it can be managed without raising taxes, of which I'm opposed. I've been asked to support the increase in 1%, 1 of 10%, or I forget how it goes, but
Time.
the tax that can go, I'm opposed to it. I was asked and I didn't support it. So you
Time.
modify how money is spent in the county.
Sure. So the question was, do you believe the Pacific County Sheriff's Office needs more deputies, and how do you plan on, if so, how do you plan on paying for it without raising our taxes?
Yeah, I think Richard Bird brought it up. There's grants out there. You also don't, I work community relations. You use a lot of volunteers to do some of the tasks that maybe take away from it. So I'm opposed to spending more money. I want to see what's there. I want to utilize it to the best of its ability and get as much as I can out of it. I do not want to spend your money. I do not want to do it. And we'll work with what we got. That's how I feel about it.
Sean?
Yeah, I would disagree with Sheriff Garcia. Our current patrol schedule is a nightmare. We have 18 from the sheriff down. It's more than we've ever had when we're fully staffed. My schedule, I'm going back to this, again, 2 squads of 9. That includes the sheriff leading a squad and an under sheriff leading a squad. We're gonna have an administrator working 7 days a week, okay, even on weekends. They're gonna work that schedule. I'm gonna add 2 sergeants. That's a big problem we have. We don't have enough direct supervision. We have 2 sergeants now, we're gonna have 4. We can do so much with this schedule. We're gonna put the boots on the ground, just like Candidate Black said last time. We need to use our resources that we have. Everyone's gonna be patrolling, and I've also taken into consideration investigations. I'm gonna have
Would I take more deputies? Absolutely. Do we need them? It's possible. But we have to make do with what we have. We have to stop being the victim. We have to stop saying we need more money, we need more money, we need more money. We've got to do better with what we have. And we also have a schedule that will work. But you have administrators who are salaried personnel for a specific reason, and that is to help cover those shifts and help cover the road when necessary. And we just got to do better with what we have right now. The sheriff's office has never had more money now than it ever has before. The budget has doubled from 1.6 million to 3.2 million in the last 3 years while Sheriff Garcia has been in office. So to say we need more money, I think is ludicrous. I think we got to do better with what we have and make better schedules and utilize our manpower in a better way.
Time. Again, another question for all the candidates. We'll start with you, David Podesta, and we had 5 people submit a similar question. So obviously, this is one that a lot of people care about. How will you establish and maintain 24/7 coverage county-wide?
I'm going to go Rich Bird and Sean, and I'm asking them for their schedules. And I'm sure they'll give it to me because they're team players. Again, you have to look at what's working and what's not working and go from there. I'm super familiar with schedules. I just don't see that as an issue that's that complicated to solve.
Sean?
Okay. So 23, 24, and 25, the sheriff's office spent about $400,000 on overtime. Now that doesn't mean we need more deputies. That means we're probably abusing that. Again, this schedule I'm talking about, I've worked it. It works. It's what we need at the sheriff's office. We're gonna have a sergeant starting off around 6 a.m. Another sergeant coming on in the afternoon. We're gonna have supervisors out to the wee hours of the morning. We're gonna have a deputy out until 6:30 in the morning, being relieved at 6. There's the 24-hour coverage. We don't even need to be fully staffed to do that. We can be down a guy or two and still pull 24-hour shift coverage 7 days a week. We've never had that. This schedule is something Pacific County's never seen.
Time. Rich Bird?
Well, I think we have to allocate our resources better. I think I said that earlier. We have to utilize the manpower we have to cover a shift 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that doesn't mean with overtime. It means that the undersheriff's going to need to work a day shift if he has to. The chief criminal deputy needs to work a swing shift. If I need to hit the road and work a shift, we have to utilize the manpower we have. It's not a situation where we have unlimited manpower and unlimited funds. We have a limited amount of manpower and a limited amount of funds. So we have to utilize everybody as part of the team to make that work. And one of the things too is to make sure people get the time off that they need so that they're healthy, but not let everybody have time off at the same time.
Time. Daniel?
Okay, so the command staff does fill gaps and run the road and do all those things. Turning us into a two-tier system essentially makes the sheriff and undersheriff just a fire team leader. There's a lot of administrating needs to be done. There's a lot of meetings need to be gone to. There's a lot of presence that needs to be had. 24-hour coverage in the past has not been what you guys think it sounds like. 24-hour coverage is a single deputy on the road by themselves. That's dangerous. Additionally, I'm telling you that we are maximally effective with what we have. If you don't believe me, then please vote for one of them. But we are working to the best of our ability to man the schedule. So.
Can we refrain from whistling, please? Sean Eastham, again, a question for all of the candidates, starting with you. How will you repair relationships with all other law enforcement agencies?
That's number one objective. I've never seen law enforcement in Pacific County in the state it is right now, and it's not the other agency's fault. Pacific County is at civil war with the county itself, with any other governmental agency, with all the other police departments. I've sat down and spoken to all the chiefs in Pacific County. They want unity back at the sheriff's office with their agencies. So how am I going to do that? I've already started. I've sat down with them, had long conversations, and it starts from the top down. You know, set the example. Meet with these chiefs. Work with them. Unite law enforcement in Pacific County. Number one objective. Day one. That's going to happen. I am saddened by what I'm seeing with regards to law enforcement in Pacific County, and it will be fixed.
Rich?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. How will you repair relationships with all other law enforcement agencies?
Well, I would say, like Sean Eastham said, I already have. I've already sat down with the chiefs. A couple of them I know from the past. Already sat down with them. We already have a working relationship established. We need to get that down to the working deputies and officers. We need to make sure that they too know that they can work together, that they assist each other on a daily basis. That's another way that you maximize your workforce, is you utilize other agencies to assist you, or you assist other agencies. We're all one big team here in Pacific County, and without that, then you're just the Lone Ranger out there trying to make it work, and that's not going to work. We have to be a team.
Daniel?
Could you say the question one more time?
How will you repair relationships with all other law enforcement agencies?
Okay, so the responsibility that I have is to make this office maximally effective to serve all of the people in Pacific County. And we have reestablished relationships with Fish and Game, with the FBI, with our regional partners, all the sheriff's offices around us, with the U.S. Marshal's Office, with the Coast Guard, with our neighboring counties over the river. Those relationships were broken when I took the office. And as a result, the fight that has been had with me between the chiefs and myself is a product of that. For that, I'm sorry. And I am open to discussing things with them in the future. That said, I will continue to address anything that works to stand in the way of making this office less effective. Anything. And I will address it.
David?
I worked community relations as the supervisor in charge for about 3.5 years. It was 62 square miles of Los Angeles. It's about 800,000 inhabitants, and I had 17 officers under me. I specialize in reaching out to people, and I reach out early. I don't want to reach out when there's a problem. I want to reach out beforehand. That's why I went to the county commissioners. I said, if I become sheriff, how's our relationship going to work? That's how you do it. That's how you work. Whatever happened with somebody else, I don't care. It's my relationship with these other people, and they're going to see that as long as it's for the good of the citizens here, that's all I care about. That's it, period. So I think most people will respond well to that.
Another question for every candidate. We'll start with Rich Bird. How do you feel about proactive policing?
Proactive policing is an absolute must. I mean, that's the backbone of any law enforcement agency, is to get out there and proactively pursue criminal activity. Just sitting back waiting for the bell to ring for somebody to call in and say something happened is not a good deployment of our resources. You need to get out there and meet the criminal out on the street and proactively pursue that criminal activity to keep the citizens of Pacific County safe. And without that proactiveness, you're just going to be reactionary, and you're going to continue to chase your tail, I guess.
Thank you. Daniel?
So the proactivity is how we've been able to address and tamp down the crime in North Cove, Grayland, Tokeland, Ocean Park, Clipson Beach, Nacelle, and that proactive nature is how we've been able to address and clean up a lot of properties. We're currently utilizing a civil process for the drug abatement civil process, and that's been working tremendously. We set up this agency with a detectives unit to be able to take the caseload off of the drug task force when they went away, and that's what we're using to address that. So the proactivity has, the results are out and about in the community. So I'm very much behind proactivity as we can make it.
Proactive policing is a double-edged sword. It's going out there and uncovering the criminal element while still respecting people's rights. And that's where you have to be really careful, and you have to really have well-trained people for that, because it can get ugly really, really quickly. And I'm not seeing proactive policing out there. I'm a police officer for 30 years. I know what policing is. I gotta tell you, I'm not seeing it. Thank you.
I've been doing this job a long time, and he stole my words, double-edged sword for proactive policing. What I mean by that is proactive policing is dangerous. When cops get killed, that's what they're doing. They're being very proactive, and there's a place for that. When you're working by yourself and it's the middle of the night, which is where I've been working, you got to really take that into consideration. So again, more deputies on the road is going to allow more opportunity for proactive policing. This training day we're going to have every 2 weeks, everybody's going to be working. That's a great time for emphasis. We can do warrant sweeps, we can do emphasis patrols, we can do a lot of stuff and have a lot of manpower to do it. And that's every 14 days we're going to have that option. It's good if it's done right. You see a lot of benefits. Drug Task Force is an example of proactive policing. We don't have that. It went away last summer, this time of year. I don't know why. We will get that back.
This next question is specifically for Sheriff Garcia, but I'm going to modify it for the other candidates after I ask it to him. Did jail deaths happen on your watch? And if so, what would you have done differently if you could go back in time?
So one jail death occurred under my watch. It was a suicide, and what I would have done differently is spent more time and effort to get additional positions in the jail prior to. When I took the office, there was a jail death, and we had to address that. At the time, there was one individual working through the night, and when I showed up at midnight on January 1st, 2023, I went into the jail, and she wouldn't let me in the jail, she said, because she was sick. And we told her, I'm not asking, I'm telling you, let me in the jail, and she let us in. And sure enough, she was sick as a dog. That's unacceptable.
Time.
The scheduling was bad, and we changed that day one.
David Podesta, how would you handle a death at the hands of one of your officers?
At the hands of one of my officers?
Yes, so if one of your officers, not saying they did it purposefully, but ended up, hurting a citizen, how would you handle that?
As I said, I've probably gone to 7 OISs, which are officer-involved shootings. The LAPD has probably the most rigorous protocol in the entire country when it comes to that. Their report takes a year long, it's about 1,000 pages. It's unbelievably detailed. One, don't jump to conclusions. What it is, right? You never know what the training is behind, what the circumstances are behind. So I'd caution people not to jump to conclusions. And then you've got to investigate, and you've got to look at all angles. And then you can come to a conclusion. But that's how I do it. Yeah, a lot of times things look really bad on camera, and then you find out, you know what, there's a different angle, you didn't see something. I'm concerned about our deputies because they don't carry enough non-lethals, and that's a problem. And there's a liability issue as well.
Same question. Okay.
As Mr. Podesta mentioned, officer-involved shootings is probably the more common deaths that occur. My understanding is there's regional teams, other agencies that we work together with where they come then and handle that investigation. Those are very extremely sensitive. I haven't been involved in any personally, but as sheriff, I would be extremely sensitive to the deputy involved in that, to the sense that they're a victim as well. And their emotional support, their mental health. Again, there's a well-established process for how these are handled, and scenes are secured, agencies are called in, investigations happen, and the utmost care for the deputy is critical at the earliest stages.
Thank you. Rich?
Same question?
Same question.
I'll make this really short and brief. There is a regional team that is utilized to investigate those types of deaths, and we would immediately contact them and turn everything over to them. And of course, look after our welfare of our deputy also.
David Podesta, this question is specifically for you. Why did you leave your last law enforcement employment? With your short time in Pacific County, why do you feel this qualifies you to be sheriff?
30 seconds, right? Okay, I'm going to make it really quick.
You got a minute and a half.
Oh, I got a minute and a half. If you go to a doctor, lawyer, tax guy, whatever, you don't really care where he comes from. You care about his knowledge, all right? Because I'm new here, because my father lived here for a long, long time, 35 years, and I've only lived here about 4 months, doesn't mean that I don't care. You know, when I worked in LA, I cared about the citizens. It's the same here. Law enforcement is law enforcement. There's some tweaks, there's some differences. There's different things that need to be focused on here, but the principle's still the same. You have to, the sheriff is there to take care of you. So when I come up here and I realize, well, it was decided before, but prior
when I decided to come up here, it was because I looked at this department. I had a personal interaction in the department that really set up some red flags. And since I've been here, there's been a lot of issues that I've identified that I know I can work through. I know I want to elevate this department from where it is now, which is maybe average, to one of the best departments in the state. That's my goal. And it's accomplished through a bunch of different things, but it's a lot of it's the leadership and the principles you give to your deputies to make sure that the citizens are taken care of, and not just in a law enforcement manner. All right, what am I here for is not a good question. The best question is, how can I help you? And if it's not a law enforcement issue, and there's a lot of calls I went to that were law enforcement issues, then you,
Rich Bird, this question is specifically for you. Very early on, before your filing date, I was told you were running in order to shorten the response time of deputies, especially on the peninsula. Specifically, how would you do that?
Before I was running for sheriff?
I'm assuming it's very early on your announcement.
Well, we've talked about it a lot here, 24-hour, 7 days a week coverage would definitely shorten your response time, but I would work towards having specific areas. Back when I was a deputy, we didn't leave the Ocean Park area unless we had a deputy that was going to be coming up to the Ocean Park area to relieve us, so that we had made sure that area always had a law enforcement officer there. That seems somewhat ridiculous, but that was where the large call volume was. So I would work to establish, like Sean Easton said, some zones, make sure that we have coverage, make sure that we always have an officer in those specific areas, so our response time is shortened dramatically. A 45-minute response time is not acceptable. I wouldn't want that for anybody in this community to wait and wonder when an officer would get there. We need to make sure that those areas are covered and that we always have multiple deputies out, not just one until 4 a.m. by himself in the south end responding to North County. If a call comes in Raymond or something, we need to have a force of deputies. And I think that we have enough. 18 officers should get you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with multiple people on shift at a time.
Sean Easton, this question is for you. And then after this question, we're going to go into closing statements. Tell us about your previous work experience and why you think this qualifies you for the position.
Sure. Again, started law enforcement at the age of 19. Emergency service, police work's been my life. It's all I've ever known. Now I've added to that. Okay, I've added the fire service. I've added emergency medical training technician, which has saved lives. I got my EMT in 23. I've saved a handful of lives with that knowledge. I've done other things. I ran for sheriff in 2018, but prior to that, I got a business management degree. I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a researcher. I'm a networker. I collaborate well with others, and I solve problems. That's what I do. If I ever had administrative roles, I absolutely have. Several years ago, for over 3 years, I was on the board of directors, served as the vice chair of a nonprofit medical clinic over in Oregon. Why did I do that? To gain this knowledge, okay? I've been on the advisory council of South Pacific County Humane Society and did that for multiple years. I've been a business owner for over 20 years. I know what is needed to run a sheriff's office, to value the stakeholders. Everybody who has a stake in the sheriff's office is a piece of the pie, okay? And they need to be valued, they need to be treated with respect, and brought into the process of solving problems.
All right, we're going to go into closing statements. Any volunteers to go first? Go for it. David Podesta, thank you.
Those of us in the military, like, look, there's some red flags in this department. Some of them are a little bit inside baseball, and I'm talking specifically about the use of force policy. There's a huge liability there. You've already spent $40,000 of your money on a lawsuit for civil rights violation in the jail. You've had a death in the jail when you don't have that many people going through. Our jail had about 60 to 70 people that we brought in a day. And in the last 4 years, no deaths. No suicides, no deaths, because they're screened properly. The protocols are done properly. People are checked on. Supervisors are there doing their job. There's some issues, and the reason I talk about the use of force policy that was written, that I read, is because it's got some huge gaps. And if, God forbid, a deputy gets into a major use of force where somebody's either significantly injured or dead, there's going to be a lawsuit. And that lawsuit is probably going to be moved from here up to Linthorne, out of the county. That's the first thing they're going to do. And then they're going to blow up the use of force policy onto a big screen, and they're going to ask people, they're going to ask the sheriff, they're going to ask the deputy who was involved if they followed the policy. And if the answer is no, the zeros start tumbling down. It needs to be fixed. Deputies need to carry their non-lethal. If all you have is a gun, if all you have is a hammer, then everything's a nail. If all you have is a gun, and you don't have less than lethal that's beyond the taser, you've got a problem. If your excuse is, I shot this guy because he had a knife or a machete or something like that, and my taser only reaches out 12 feet and he's 20 feet away and I was in fear of my life, and you had no other tools with you, you weren't trained in anything else, start writing the zeros. And that's what I want to prevent. So I want to be fiscally responsible. I've talked about not wanting to spend more money, but I also want to protect you, because those lawsuits are super, super expensive. I want to make sure, just like my colleagues, that you get the coverage that you need, so that when you dial 911, people show up, and they show up in a timely manner. Our response time, LA is a little different, obviously, but our response time was 6 minutes. And if we were 7 minutes or 8 minutes in, somebody would ask us why it took us so long. Obviously, it's not going to be a 6-minute response. But there needs to be leadership there to say, wait a minute, what were you doing? Why did it take you so long? What is the problem here? So, and you can't dismiss drug use or mental health and just go, oh, well, it's somebody else's problem. No. It's our problem. And drug use is not a victimless crime.
Time.
Anybody who knows that, anybody who's been around knows that, or been involved in it, knows that it touches everybody. Thank you.
Volunteer. Voluntold.
Okay, so if I'm elected sheriff, here's a summary of what you're going to get. You're going to get somebody who cares deeply about Pacific County, who knows the ins and outs of Pacific County. This is my life. This is where I've devoted everything. I know the sheriff's office. I know how to run it. That may be strange to say. I've never ran it before. But again, my vision is ambitious, but it's realistic. Things I want to do. I'm going to have a major crimes and special investigations division. That's going to be 4 people from each squad, 2 sergeants from each squad and 2 deputies. We're going to have a team of 8 available at all times for major incidences. Drug task force, it's coming back. Just like Mr. Bird said. The patrol schedule I've mentioned. I have a heart for kids, right? I have a plan to put deputies in the schools. There's 5 schools that we serve, 5 school campuses. I'd like to see deputies there half a school day, 1 day a week in each school. I have a plan to do that. What I'm seeing at the sheriff's office is some significant operational and administrative shortfalls that is negatively affecting the community. I have solutions for those. Day one, within 2 weeks, the sheriff's office is going to be a lot different than it is now, and the people are going to notice it really quick. There's going to be more supervision. There's going to be faster response times, more deputies out, multiple deputies out. A plan is in place, and I'm going to involve the community. I've mentioned community-oriented policing. It's a philosophy. Again, it's part of getting everybody's involved in this. Deputies in schools, that's one aspect of that. Getting our deputies better medical training. I got my EMT 3 years ago. I did it while working at the sheriff's office. I know how to do that. I know how to provide opportunities for other deputies who may be interested to get that certification. That saves lives. That's practical. That's us inserting ourselves into the community in a way that is above and beyond. You know, I have the experience, lots of experience, high amount of education, and a lot of training and certifications. I want to use these in a new capacity as sheriff and be a leader in ways that I can't as a deputy. Again, I've mentioned unity and collaboration, bringing the police departments, the commissioner's office, the media, all the stakeholders of Pacific County need to come together. They need to be united, and the sheriff is the one that needs to do that. We need to rebuild those bridges, not burn the bridges. I know all these players. I've met with the commissioners. I've met with the chiefs. I've spoken to the media.
Time.
Thank you.
Oh, it's time for me to say prayers next with my kids, sorry. I'm just kidding. It is prayer time, but I'm not gonna step away.
Well, thank you again for coming. I appreciate everybody that's here tonight. I think we talked enough about schedules, but 24 hours a day, 7 days a week is absolute a must, and that's going to start day one, and it's a necessity. The other thing I want to talk about is fiscal responsibility. When our team takes over, we're going to work hard to best spend your money, the taxpayers' money. Right now, there's currently almost $140,000 every year since Sheriff Garcia has taken over in overtime. That's just an unbelievable amount of money. That is one full-time employee plus. So to ask for more deputies, but then have that expenditure is unbelievable. Especially when you have a couple deputies who are getting $6,000 to $8,000 a month in overtime. That's not healthy for them, and it's certainly not fiscally responsible. I mean, that's they need time off. They need to get time away from the sheriff's office. The other thing I want to talk about fiscal responsibility is admin cashing in their comp time or their flex time. It's unbelievable that 4 or 5 admin under Sheriff Garcia have cashed in comp time in the amount of almost $50,000. That's money that could have been spent on something else. Admin is there they're a salaried position. They're not there to collect overtime. They don't get overtime. I understand if they work extra, they get comp time, but again, it's not healthy for them. They need the time off. So I would say that those numbers are astronomical. That's a ton of money that we could have used to better supplement the workforce and actually cover those shifts. The other thing I want to talk about is training. We have a national trainer on our team. Heath Lehman is nationally recognized for Train the Trainer, so he can bring training. He has done this in Cosmopolis. He's brought training to his small agency of 3 to 5 officers. And when you bring training to your agency, the attendees from your agency attend for free. So you bring the training here, you bring other agencies here, and your attendees get to attend for free. It doesn't cost you a thing. We've got to get deputies trained in things other than firearms, other than driving their car, other than the normal everyday things that they have to be trained in. That's a must also. But we got to get them trained in other stuff. You know, we got to have active shooter training. When was the last time that Pacific County trained in an active shooter situation? I don't want to will it upon us, but we better be ready for it. It hasn't happened in a long time anywhere nationally, but we better be ready for it in case it does. We've got those things day one. We've got train the trainer.
Time.
I'll just say this: I'm Rich Bird, Experience matters. Vote Team Bird.
Okay, how long?
3 minutes.
Okay. So first off, everybody, I love you all. Even for those in the room that are hateful to me, I love you. Second, the sheriff's office has been working tremendously hard. So the ideas that there's some magic schedule it's amazing to me. That said, for some facts here for the people, Pacific County is 1,200 square miles. We're broken into 2 zones, so that's essentially 2 agencies that need staffing, north and south. The dividing line is between milepost 38 and 37 on US 101. So that means that each zone, or beat, if you will, is over 500 square miles. So sheer distance is a contributing factor to travel time and response time. That said, again, the current administrative staff does fill gaps, and the staffing is done in a manner to manage the workload of the highest call volume times, the highest call volume places on the highest call volume days. That is Wednesday, oddly enough. That is Ocean Park. It is, Heath. That is during the day. Highest call volume times, highest call volume days, highest call volume place. The zones and the population of the county is 24,000. That said, the bulk of the population, over 16,000, is in the county. The bulk of that is north of Long Beach. Long Beach proper is about 3 square miles wide. And there are a couple thousand residents. Ilwaco is a little over 1 square mile and about 1,000 population. South Bend is a little over 1 square mile and about 1,000 population. Raymond is a little over 3 square miles and little over 2,000 population. All the rest is in the county. So the sheriff's deputies respond to all calls everywhere we're needed, to include the municipalities. There are 4 municipalities, 2 warring tribes, 4 ports, and 6 school districts. The political situation in Pacific County is tenuous at best. So I've done my best to navigate that political situation. I will continue to do so. I'm open to conversations with every political leader in the entire county, and I do my best to work with every single one. At times, like I stated before, any entity, any group, any person that stands in the way of making this office less effective, I will address. It will not go unaddressed. So with that said, I will in the future continue to do my best to serve you and work on those relationships. So God bless you all.
All right, let's give it up for all of our sheriff candidates. And thank you all very much for coming out on a Tuesday evening. You obviously care about the future of Pacific County. Remember, ballots go out July 16th for the primary on August